Good morning. Hi, everybody. So excited to be here with you today because I am bringing you Shayna.
Ah.
And Shayna and I are going to talk about her time living in some places that might not seem that friendly on the surface, but we're going to talk about her experience there. So if you looked at the thumbnail, or the title of this video, we're going to talk about Shayna's time living in Russia. If this is your first time watching my channel and you're here because you're like, wow, I'm so interested in Russia, I'm so sorry to tell you this. You might not get more content than this. So stay tuned. If you're a regular, hey, I'm going to say hi to some of my wonderful friends in the comments. I see Ra and Abba who are in my membership. Y'all, I forgot to set up a membership live this week. I don't think it's happening. By the way, if you're watching for the first time, my name is Rashida Dow. I am a YouTuber that talks primarily to Black women about their experience in different places and with different things. So generally, we talk about living abroad. Today, we're talking about some other stuff. Ooh, someone's here who loves Shayna.
Oh, hey. I can't see the chat, but hey.
You can, if you go on the side,
Yes.
it's where it says comments.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there it is. Okay.
There it is.
Yeah, I'm still figuring out the YouTube space.
Yes, it's right there. Okay, so yeah, we're here. We're gonna talk about Russia. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff. So excited to have Shayna with me. I'm a little bit out of it today. It's a long night yesterday. Not even a long day, but tonight. We're down to one bathroom and for four of us, and the ceiling in the one bathroom leaked yesterday.
It's feeling college-esque, like
No, because they're children, right?
Oh,
So
are they included in the 4?
yes. And like yesterday when I had to go, I was like, and they were like, coming downstairs to brush my teeth and go to bed. I was like, can I elbow them and push them out the way so I can go? Oh, I can't. Because one, it's their house, and two, I think their daddy would fight me.
You know what's interesting? I know we're going to hop back into the Russia conversation, or like the abroad conversation. Yesterday, I had not a family reunion, a cousins reunion.
Okay.
My family is unnecessarily large. We are Caribbean. My dad's side is Haitian. There are far too many of us. And I didn't realize there were only 30 cousins that were able to come for this one.
Only 30?
Yes.
Okay.
Only 30. We have a Facebook group. Last time I checked, we were hitting 90.
Okay. Of the cousins?
Of just the cousins.
Okay.
Far too many of us. If you're Haitian, hi, you're probably a cousin. There was a separate picture of just the children. And I said, like under 16. And I said, my God. It's adorable, precious.
Where y'all come from? Who did this?
Everybody. I said, let me squeeze, let me hug me, bite a cute baby, and then please, find your parents. Find all of your parents.
Yes. I'm in starting week 2 with my precious babies. They're 11 and 13, so they're not babies, but they're always babies to you. And I haven't murdered anybody yet, and so I'm winning. Auntie of the year over here. Okay, but let's talk about Russia because that's why people are here. They're gonna be like, "What are y'all doing? What is this slow start?" Okay, so we're gonna get right into it. Shayna, how did you end up in Russia?
Fair question. You know what? I can make this long story just as long as it needs to be.
Go for it.
Hop in, ask questions as they come up. So I was in a graduate program at my. I need to stop being weird about so I went to Harvard for my graduate program. And it was a program that was in conjunction with the American Repertory Theater. I was one of the acting students there. So for that program, we spend our first semester in the US learning a lot of like Russian technique. And then our second semester, we are in Moscow with some of the professors that we had in this, like that flew over from Russia to the States. And then we go and meet them on their home turf. So
This is an acting program.
this was an acting
And
program.
when we got to back up. We got to back up for the slow. My brain's not really clickety clacking right now because I'm tired. So I'm the slow people. We're backing up for me. When you say their techniques, you mean Russian acting techniques?
Yeah. So
Okay.
right. So a lot of things, something that a lot of people don't know when it comes to like acting technique, one of the most popular ones is method acting, right? Those people that just say, I am this person, I become insert character here, right? There's two other major techniques. One of them is Stanislavski, another one is method, and then I can't remember. But they all come from the same guy whose name is Stanislavski. He's written about this. He's very dead now, but like he's written about this extensively, right? And he made a school for this that's called the Mahat, the Moscow Art School, and it's still around today. And they still teach acting technique fundamentally the way that he taught it when he was alive.
Okay.
So if we went to get that real, raw, 100% unfiltered, no skim milk situation for acting technique for our first year. And then the second year, you take all of the like techniques that you learn, which like, yes, is the Russian like classic Stanislavski technique. And all the stuff that you learn first semester, second semester, you figure out how it sits for you. And then you go off, you audition, you do the things on stage and all of that. So that is the overlap.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Explanation for the slow folks. All right. So you're in Russia to learn Russian acting techniques
Yeah,
created by the very dead guy.
but the very dead guy. Fun fact about just a quick little asterisk. Don't lose that question that was right there. So yes, Russian acting techniques, but what you also don't know about Russia till you get there when it comes to their acting programs is that when I say it is all inclusive, I mean we did fencing, I did fencing, I did broadsword, I did acrobatics, I was upside down. I
This
was
is
on
all inclusive, and I was like, so they let you go to the spa. They brought you food.
I wish.
I thought we had different. We were in different places, baby
No,
girl.
no, they said you're gonna be ready for anything. Gonna be ready for anything. And they teach you the way that you think Russians teach you. Like, yeah, you have the mask on in the beginning, but then once they realize that you have a proclivity towards like I'm great with physical activity.
Mm-hmm.
Like you give me a sword, I'm gonna make it work, right? What I did not realize is that because my body naturally I'm able to fence very easily. And then when we made our way to broadsword, those things are heavy. Those are like 10, 15 pounds.
Mm.
And then your teacher goes, wow, you got this. Take off the mask.
But my face.
10, 15 pounds, take off the mask. They said, this is not an exaggeration. Shayna, acting is living on stage. And I said, but what about choreography? Like what about living on stage? Your fear needs to be real. I kid you not. So this is all, I just had to asterisk that. And now please
So
continue.
you're in Russia trying not to like lose an ear when someone's coming at you with a sword, and there's no like you step left, I step right, we do this. They were
Oh,
like, just don't die, just don't die.
so there was a lot of like you learn the basics. You learn
Uh-huh.
proper like steps. You learn different my goodness parries and all of that. You learn all of those basics. But then when it comes to the phrase is not free play. I'm trying to remember what the actual phrase is, but it comes to a point where where they go, okay, now it's you versus one of your classmates, or which was you versus a teacher. And they say, okay, now you know the steps. We have to read each other to know how to block, how to parry, how to do all those things. Let's go.
Now, Shayna,
Right.
I'm gonna ask, I think what the audience wants to know, what I want to know, because I'm nosy and I'm here talking, so I get to ask the questions. Have you ever used a broadsword in any kind of acting role since then?
No, no. I never studied acting. I like applied into a bunch of I applied to 3 schools last minute because a bunch of things went crazy in like a really good way.
I'm so
Um,
sorry. You're a Black girl and life was happening, and so you were like, "What about grad school?" Is that is that is that
okay, we're gonna take the story a couple more steps back. A couple more steps back. Okay. So my junior year, a very close family friend of mine passed away
okay.
tragically. I've always been a writer, right? So I wrote a spoken word piece about him, put it in the corner of my head, said, okay, school is going on. A friend of mine is putting on a cabaret, said, oh my God, Shayna, we need something to connect these two pieces of cabaret. Could you just write something and like turn it into a monologue? I said, I think I got something. So I did this piece in dedication to this past family friend. The next day, I got several $100s in scholarship money from a regional theater that's a couple miles away.
Ooh.
And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. They probably do this all the time. I go to the theater department. I say, oh, like it's Two River Theater. I was in school in like central South Jersey. I don't know. I was like, hey, this is super cool. Has anybody, like, who can I thank? They probably do this all the time. They said, oh, they've never given a student money before. You might want to check out this acting thing. And I said, all right. So that was the end of my junior year. That summer I like did internships, mostly admin on Broadway. And by the end of it, I was like, I hate admin. And somebody was like, okay, so what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. They were like, have you ever considered acting grad school? I was like, what's that? So I learned about it, and then by the time I figured out what it was, I had 3 months to pay for, apply, figure out my monologues, all of this. I'm a poor student. I didn't have money, so I just saved up as much money as I could, and I reached out to a very, very close family friend. I call him Uncle Scott. For those of you who are familiar with the haves and the have-nots, that is Veronica's husband, Uncle Scott. So I reached out to Uncle Scott and I was like, hey, I've been told about acting grad school. Can you help? What do I do? And he said, Shayna, only apply to Ivy Leagues. And I said, all right, is it the same thing? He's like, you don't have time to ask questions. Just trust me on this. Apply to Ivy League, apply to as many as you can. So I applied to Brown, I applied to the ART at Harvard, and then there was another like cattle call kind of acting thing where like you do one audition and then there's like a bunch of recruiters in the space, right? Um, and I happened to get into Harvard. And I said, wait a minute. And he said, right, your life's getting ready to change. Pack your bags. So then I had like 2 months to be like, okay, what am I doing? And then after I got in, I was like, wait, I'm going to Russia? And they said, yeah, just, get ready. And I
So you
said,
didn't know going to Russia was part of the program when you applied?
I had an idea, but I thought that it was a much shorter time. I didn't realize that it was a full semester, and
Mhm.
it could have just been because there was so much happening at once that they might have told me, and it just kind of went over my head.
Okay, let's get back to Russia.
Russia.
We moved ahead. What city in Russia were you in?
Our program was primarily in Moscow, but
Mhm.
we did do a brief, like week, couple days in St. Petersburg.
And where did you stay? Like, what were the housing arrangements?
So as international students, we had a floor in their student housing.
Okay,
Um, and our student housing was about a 30-minute walk from the school, from the Mahats.
okay.
Mhm.
Were you the only Black international student?
No. Mm-mm. It was me in my class. It was me, two other Black women, and one Black man.
Okay. Do you think that your experience was representative of not everyone, but like the general Black experience there? But for the students who came over.
I don't think that mine was representative. I learned later on that there was a lot of behind the scenes political, like socio-political stuff that shows up in the intersectionality of where I sit as it relates to colorism and texturism in Moscow that the other women in my class were not forced to have to navigate.
Okay, so a little more detail in that.
Right. So I'll share the background first, and then we could dive into some of the stuff that happened. So what I learned eventually is that Moscow had, like Russia in general, but Moscow in particular, because of like the universities and such, has had historically Black people, like darker skinned Black people in Moscow. But they don't really integrate into the larger white society of Moscow, of Russia in general. When I checked back in 2017-ish, around there weren't even like Afro-Russians on the census. There were more Americans on the census than there were Afro-Russians, but I saw more Afro-Russians in real life than I came across Americans easily. Um, so with that, people that are, mind you, I recognize that our shading shows up in Africa at all times, right? We span the gamut. Um, what I found though in Moscow, in my experience of Russia in general, because this also showed up in St. Petersburg, was that there was an assumption that and the fact that I had to have my hair out, and I have like very big kind of longish hair, so I couldn't hide it. Like I couldn't tuck it, I couldn't do stuff. I couldn't twist it because my director really wanted me to have my hair out for the shows that we were in. So I stuck out a whole lot. I stuck out a whole lot. And there was an assumption that there was mixing that happened in the creation of me. And the mixed population in Moscow are generally not treated well. There is and a little bit more about like my experience of how Russian history shows up on the day to day. Because of the amount of persecution that people in Russia have had to experience at the hands of government, at the hands of terrible things happening over and over again, when a Russian person says that you are a friend, in my experience, when a Russian person says that you are a friend, it literally means I have no issue dying for you. I will lay my body on the line to care for you. And they can't do that for everybody, right? I have, with my own two eyes, seen people pull a man into a van and then drive off. I don't know if he's been seen again. And this was on my way to school. And then everybody just kept going around, business as usual, right? So with that being like on a day-to-day experience, you can't have the space to care for everybody. You have to know who your people are and say, I will care for my people. How does this intersect? In my experience, I've noticed that the white people stay with the white people. The black people stay with the black people. And if they don't quite know where to put you, then you're on your own. So the other two women that I was with, they were darker skinned Black women. So there might have been an assumption of, oh, okay, we know where to put you. But because of like, I guess my shading, I guess my hair, there was attacks coming from the Afro-Russian side and the white Russian side from me. So I didn't know where to go for safety.
Okay, so when you say attacks,
Mhm.
is that like she's a writer and she uses
No,
words?
no. I'm gonna say the biggest trigger warning right now for everybody
Okay,
who is, a trigger warning. I mean that quite literally. I've had to run from my life. I have been grabbed. There are parts of my memory that I do not have from my time in Moscow. Literally.
particular memory that you don't have? You just
Yes.
blocked it out?
No, like I there was a day where I was walking to school, and Tverskaya is like the coronary artery of Moscow. It's like a multi-lane highway street, and most people when you're walking, you have to walk down Tverskaya. And there was a lot of what is it called? Construction happening on one of the sidewalks one day. So they made like a little bridge at one point, but it was a pretty flimsy, and not a lot of people can walk together. So they had like a bunch of people walk at one time, and then they would close it down to continue with construction. I tried my best to make it in with a big group, but I couldn't. So I was the one person waiting for them to like drop the bridge down so that way I could cross. I was hoping more people would join me, but there just wasn't enough traffic behind me. And there were a bunch of men that were like working on and around the bridge at one point. And I said, okay. And I felt everything in my body drop. And I said, oh God, no. So I start walking. And all I remember were a bunch of hands. Like I remember palms coming at me, like full body, like face and body. And my body said, run. Everything shut down. I do not remember anything from that point, but there is a statue that was really close to the Mahats. And it was a guy and he's on a horse. And generally, like if you're walking slow, it's about a 15-minute, like if you're walking at an okay pace, it's about a 15-minute walk. I just remember staring like straight on to that statue. I don't know for how long. And then I blinked and I was like, how'd I get here? Where'd the men go? I don't know what happened. I can't for the life of me remember. But when I say attacked, I mean, and this wasn't just one situation. This was, so yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah. Not
Um,
fun.
I'm I have like 1,000 questions right now, which is why I'm struggling a little bit. But also I know that like there's nothing I can say that would make this not happen. So I'm also struggling with that.
Also, I've been through copious amounts of therapy to be able to share this
okay.
and I've nothing that you say at this point will trigger me. So if that's a concern, you're good.
Okay. What in your experience, were the Russian men handsy with Russian women?
In my experience, what I can say, I can only really talk about from what I saw on the street.
Mhm.
Um, our program was so busy. We were booked and busy because after school we were in shows.
Okay.
So it was really just like walking to coming from school that we were able to, and if people found time to make friends, then great, but a lot of us didn't. So from what I saw on the street, I wouldn't say particularly handsy because Russian women can fight. Russian women, a lot of people think, oh, like people love like the Russian women. They're just so like all this. No, they can fight and they can fight really well. um, so I think if a man tried to get handsy, she like she's mm. um but the realm of how the sexes play out over there is also very interesting. Like you will see women dressed to the nines, mink, short dress, heels. It's cold. It's Moscow. And then the guy that she with looks like he may or may not be unhoused. And that's just like the situation. So when it comes to their interaction, it's handsiness. Like, yeah, he might like have his hand around her waist just to let people know that she's with him. But also there's a lot of like, don't mess up my mink. If is what I noticed anyway.
Okay. So like what you experienced isn't something that like the average Russian woman is thinking about
No,
on the average day.
no. I have friends who are Russian. I have friends that were in Russia and well, like friends, I guess more associates. We knew them through school. And I had friends, I haven't spoken to her in a while, but her family was born and raised in Moscow and they fled as soon as they could. And we went through like high school together. And so when I told her and her family, hey, I'm going to be going to Moscow for like 4.5 months for school, her parents were like, why would you do that? Shayna, no. This is not a good idea. And I said, but it's the school, it's Harvard. And they said, this is not wise. Don't do this. I didn't fully understand, and my program
Yeah.
honestly did not do a good job of really explaining the very
Okay.
real dangers that Black students could potentially face while being there. So
After your experience, did you take that to the school? Were they aware? Did they do anything differently after that?
I did take it to the school. And what I didn't know until the pandemic happened, when a bunch of Black alumni got together, is that historically people have taken it to the school. There
Mm,
are other reports of other wild things happening. Nothing was done.
okay.
Mhm. Another thing after this is that, so the program is 2 years long. So you have a first year and a second year. And what happens every year, it's an under the table conversation that admin knows about, that they encourage people to do, but it's not like on the docket. It's the Black people talk, where all of the Black second years gather with the Black first years before we go to Moscow to say, this was our experience. Do with this what you will. And this is what the class before us told us. So it was kind of giving like Underground Railroad situation, where all you have is word of mouth. And the class before us, though, there was only one Black woman there. And she had a very different experience than I did. Um, she loved it over there. She was great. She found a Russian boyfriend. She like was in a bunch of commercials that like paid really well over there. And I was like, oh, okay. So like this is what we can expect. And she's like, I mean, I had a great time. The class before me, they didn't say anything like terrible happened. So, but then you go a couple years back,
Okay.
and that's when you start to uncover stuff. So
Okay.
it's no hate to her. I adore her. She
Didn't
just
have the same
she knew.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the thing about
And
like,
Harvard does not have this program anymore. This program had an association with Harvard. They've since split, and the program has been at this point dismantled. It might be trying to make a comeback. I really hope it doesn't, but it might be trying to make a comeback. Sorry, I saw that in the comments.
okay. Well, when the other Black women the darker skinned women who were there with
Mhm.
you, there they were left alone?
Oh yeah, we were all left to the wolves,
No, no,
basically.
I meant like left alone by the Russian people.
Oh, okay, okay. One woman had such a good time that she actually said she would vacation in Moscow,
Okay.
which blew my mind. The other woman, she was harassed, but nobody touched her. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Nubianet wrote something in the comments that I think is really interesting, and it's talking about someone friend who went there in 2018 and loved it and wanted to go back. And Sly's life, I'm not familiar with, on YouTube, was there a month or so, fine for him. But that's the thing. Like when I went to Argentina and I had a terrible time, people were like, well, this male YouTuber was just there and he had a great time. And I'm like Black women are treated like within the spectrum of Black women, we will have different experiences.
Hmm.
Black women and Black men are not seen the same around the world. There are similarities,
Hmm.
but we are not seen the same or treated the same or have to experience the same things around the world, right?
Hmm.
Like a bunch of Russian male construction workers probably aren't walking up to these men
No.
hands first, right? Like there are I'm not saying there aren't dangers for Black men around the world, because there are, but it's not doesn't tend to be the same danger. It doesn't tend to be the same experience. And so I'm really glad Nubinet said that, because it's something that I think can get lost in the conversation, is
Hmm.
that like we can have similar experiences, but most of the time a Black man there were so many Black men in my comments saying, oh, I loved Argentina. It was great for me. You just didn't. And I'm like,
That is great for you.
Okay,
That
sure.
is so
I
one of the
love Buenos Aires. You must not have, well, you don't know Spanish. And I'm like, okay,
sure.
okay.
So, prime example of this, right? Once again, something I found out in the in isolation, lockdown, when all of the as many Black alumni gathered online to share stories. I can't remember the year, but there was a year where one of the Black students was a Black man who the class knew, but like Russians didn't know. He had like some fourth degree black belt in some
Mm,
kind of like martial arts, right?
right.
And a bunch of white Russians tried to jump him. A bunch of white Russians tried to jump him. Now he beat them, all of them. It sounded like a comic book the way that he beat them senselessly. I like so when it comes to the experience that I've had versus him, I it's there's a lot of overlap. He was able to fight them off. Once again, not a monolithic experience. And one even within this class, I have a classmate who says, "Oh my gosh, I loved it there. I'd love to go back. I'd love to go see the Bolshoi. I'd love to stop by the Mahats. I'd love to have." Honestly, Russian food makes me sad. It feels like depression food. It's all just like not even because brown food is good food, but there's something about a gray food. Like if the food looks like this couch, I got an issue. Me,
So it wasn't, food wasn't great for 4.5 months.
it was hard.
Okay.
It was hard.
Oh, what you just said reminded me of the time I was in Tokyo and I was coming back late night with a friend from karaoke. So early morning. It was probably like, I don't know, 5 a.m. Something. We're coming back for karaoke. Um, and we're on the train in Tokyo. And this is a very large Black man. And we're on the train. I have my issues. I had my issues in Japan, but it was never like hands or aggression or anything like that. It was other stuff. This very small Japanese guy starts like talking smack in Japanese to my friend who's lived there for a while, so understands some of it. And I can see him like holding it in, like he's like trying to like not explode. And the guy's like trying to, I think he's drunk. I think. We're like, we have not interacted with them in any way. We were sitting on the train and they came in, him and somebody, not another man, so maybe at least one other woman, maybe by himself. I don't remember, but it was only one man. And sits like across from us, but over a little bit. We've had no interaction. And this guy starts getting aggressive. And my friend is like, we need to get off this train. We need to get off this train. Not because I'm going to lose this fight, but because I can't. If I fight a Japanese man in Japan,
Yeah.
I don't win. Like I don't.
Legally, there's no way for me to win.
There's no winning because I'm going to go to jail. He's like, we have to. He's like, we're moving. We're getting up because like there's like even in that situation where like physically this man knows he can't take him, right? But like, or like the Japanese man has to know because I think you're also a little you're not all the way straight, but like you still the aggressor, right? Upon seeing a Black man became the aggressor and has no fear of like the repercussions because he knows this foreigner is always going to be the one who gets in trouble. Is always going to be like this large Black guy is always going to be the bad guy. When like it's just us in this train car. It's just us in this train car right now, right? Like, and so there's that like even defending yourself sometimes when you're in a different country can be hard. So I'm curious about your friend who defended himself against those Russian men. Was there any consequences to him? Did it go any further or did it just stop there?
No, it just stops there. It just stops there. And I will say that because the Kremlin is in Moscow. It's like right across from Red Square. Red Square, for any of you who are curious, is incredibly small. Like, but it also houses. The running joke is all of the color in Moscow is in the Red Square.
Oh,
Because Moscow is a very.
That's for everything.
They just
put
put
it all there.
They put it all
Take
there.
your friend's photo right here. The rest of it, we ain't got it.
The entire city is gray.
Okay.
The entire city is like massive, huge, imposing gray facades of buildings. It's beautiful, and also like the facades are always crumbling. It's very symbolic to me because it's these big imposing structures, but whatever it's built off of is constantly slowly deteriorating. So Moscow is a very dusty city, aside from like the Red Square, where it's just, oh my God, there's so much color. But it's also right across from the Kremlin. Why do I bring this up? There is still a massive police force in a very concerning police force in Moscow. They terrified me. I don't know what it was like back when I was there in 2016, a few months before the Trump presidency. So American and Russian tensions were already high because Trump was just constantly saying stuff, and we shouldn't have been there in the first place. So I don't know if tensions were quite as high when this guy was there, but regardless, he beat all of them, and then he just kept walking back to school. I haven't heard, he didn't say anything happened. No, nothing happened.
And the white people you went in the program with, were they like blissfully ignorant about all of this stuff? Like, oh, your time hasn't been amazing and special?
So everybody, this is great question. Um, the white people in my program, so there were 18 actors.
Mhm.
18 actors, 3 dramaturgists, 1 voice student. So in total, not a lot of us. Uh, everybody had a different kind of hard time in Moscow,
Okay.
and everybody became very obsessed with their own, like surviving in their own world
Yes.
in
As you
Moscow.
have to, right? If there's no support, if there's no support, I got to take care of myself, dog.
Right. And so honest to God, the people that were the biggest support to me, because in my mind, I was in PTSD mode. I was in fight or flight for months on end, high energy, blinders on, not doing well. And the people that noticed and the people that stepped in were all from my white classmates, were the women and the queer people. They said, "Shayna, you are not walking, like, it doesn't matter what your schedule is, what my schedule is, we're walking to school at the same time now." It doesn't matter what, like, there's this person, their name is Frankie. I adore Frankie. There was a day where we had to walk home late. You could take a taxi, but also that taxi might not drop you off where you wanted to go. And I said, I'm not hopping it up right.
Real quick pause. We don't get back to your story. The
Right.
taxi's not dropping you off where you want to go because the taxi driver is being difficult, lazy, or malicious.
Kind of depends. Kind of
Oh,
depends.
okay.
This is what we were told. I never took a taxi for this exact reason. But especially if you don't look like you're from here, you can, and like it's pretty cheap to take a taxi from what I heard, but like if they said actually we're not going there, what are you gonna do?
Like
And
they're not going there because it's not safe, or they're not going there because they don't feel like they have to do what you're paying them to do.
that second part.
Okay.
The
Okay.
second part is what
So
we were
fun.
from Moscovians. So what we were told from Moscovians. And I said, thank you for that information. I will only be walking. So on this particular evening, me, Frankie, and another classmate were walking home, and there were 3 police officers. Like we had to pass them in an underground, like there was an underground part of town. I can't remember exactly where it is. But we had to go underneath to go back up above ground. I guess there was like a highway or something above, right? And underneath there's the 3 of us. Frankie's white, the other classmate is a large cisgendered white man, fully in his feelings. He did apologize to me years later. He was like, Shayna, I was not who I needed to be. I should have protected you. And I was just very self-obsessed. I was like, I appreciate this. I appreciate this now. And God, it really would have been helpful back then because he's huge. Anyway, The police officers were eyeing me down, all three of them glaring at me and kind of like angling their bodies towards me. And then Frankie just like put his arms around me, continued to talk like to me, to the group, but like in a bigger voice and kind of like veer us off to the side because I was just PTSD brain. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? And Frankie just kind of like, all right, and we're going. And also Frankie spoke the best Russian in our class. So if anything were to go down, he would actually be able to communicate to the officers. But like things like that, some of my white classmates did step in, and that did help to alleviate a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you said everybody had their own issue. So, like, white American man, what issues would he have been facing?
I don't think he's ever going to watch this. I don't. This is not his.
No, I'm not saying specifically. This was more
Yeah.
of a general question, not specifically to
Mhm.
that man. So we
Okay.
can be a little bit more broad.
Right. So general issues, like you think about in my mind, in comparison to what I was going through, I was like light work, but also, you're away from home for a while, you're homesick. A lot of people had sick or ailing parents, grandparents. Moscow is hard in general. It was very cold. We did not see sunlight for months. It was a big deal. We took pictures of the sun when we saw it and we sent it to the group chat. We were like,
Okay.
God, did you see the sun today? Then when spring came around, it was like, oh, okay, like this is nice. But there was a very long time before. So like that got to people. There were a lot of like not having the foods that you're used to, trying to make the best out of like borscht when all you can eat is borscht, that kind of a thing.
It wasn't like people saw them and they were like, "Oh no, Americans," and threw
No,
rocks at their head or something.
no.
Okay. Someone asked this earlier. Were there anti-American sentiments there that were like obvious and impacted your experience beyond? That's why I'm asking for other people because we know, like, your experience is hard to know exactly what went into how, and why, right?
Mhm.
But for the other people who don't come with the color or the same color or the gender that makes them a target, there were no like go home foreigner kind of things.
You don't really see that because once you know the energy of how to walk through Moscow, it's going to be harder for people to there is a if you know how to walk through New York and not look like you're not from there, you know how to walk through Moscow.
Okay.
That
All
kind
right.
of so like if you're just kind of like wow, out like trying to figure out where you're walking on your phone and you pause in the middle of the people can tell that you're not from there. They might not be able to tell where you're from, but they could tell that you're not from there. Um if you try to speak Russian, it helps. They will judge you regardless, but like it helps. Generally, non like anti-American sentiment, we didn't see a whole lot of that. We did randomly walk through a Nazi rally though, which was very scary. And then all of my good white classmates gathered around me and I said, "Thank you." Um, but yeah, that was a thing.
Just
So
random Nazi rally.
just a random Nazi rally. Yeah, I don't even think it was like there was a holiday. I don't think there was a thing. They just kind of were like, today is a good day to be Nazis.
But like y'all ain't got no jobs. Shouldn't you be at work? What's
Ah,
up?
listen, hate is a full-time job. No
You're right about that. Go to
benefit.
work. What are you doing?
Wait, what?
I said, go to work. What are you doing? Why are you out here?
I
Get a,
mean,
get
actually.
a second job. Go home and see your kids. They haven't seen you in a while.
And there were no babies at that rally. So you know that these kids were out with somebody else. Like, come on, guys. And you get no benefits from this. Like, literally, you don't get health insurance for doing this. It's ridiculous. Worst job ever.
It's cold. Y'all have a okay, but I kind of feel like the places that are really, really not hard, as places, the places that are difficult to live and the places that become more difficult, and that's what I saw in Buenos Aires, a place that become more difficult over time. Like you feel that hate bubbling more. like as it gets hard, the places that are like hard to live, because like this person's hard life has to be somebody else's fault. Who could it be? Oh, there's a Black person.
Get him. Yeah.
There are only, a couple hundred of you in the country, but it has to be your fault that I'm eating borscht.
I
Woo.
I would say that Russia was a place I felt uncomfortable when I first got there, but I was
Mhm.
just like, "Oh, okay, it's Russia. I don't think you're supposed to feel comfortable here." But it did get worse over time. And because when we got there at the tail end of their winter, the beginning of their spring, and
Mhm.
their spring is cold, it's rainy, it's wet. So like I got to put my hood on. I didn't realize that my hood covering like the bulk of my like skin and face
Mm.
and hair was the thing that protected me for the beginning of my time there. But then when spring came around and you can't wear the big winter jacket anymore because it's cold enough, but the like 3-layered North Face, you're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna dehydrate. It's too much. So once I didn't have that to cover the everything, that's when people said, "Oh, her,
Okay.
that one right there."
It's a Negro. Oh no, it's something.
Yeah, I don't know what the word
It's
is. It's
something.
probably not nice.
Okay, so I asked you this the first time we met, but I'm gonna ask it for everyone else that I know the answer. Would you go back to Russia?
Oh, no. No. There's not enough money that you could pay me.
Okay. What was the best experience you had that was not in the class or a play? The best experience you had outside of your program
I
or
could
outside
try.
of the work you did in your program?
Fair, fair, fair. 2 things. One, while I have such a disdain for Russian food, Moscow makes the best Georgian food that I have come
Hmm.
across. I have never had khachapuri before in my life, and I said, "This bread, cheese, pomegranate, bunch of other stuff, like, any day of the week, just
Okay.
directly into the veins, please." Um, so Georgian food, 10 out of 10. Um, and while it
What
wasn't
was
the shows that we were in, the way that they do theater over there is so interesting and fascinating, and I could see why like it's something that I've never experienced before. And I could watch show after, and you don't need to speak the language to find it completely captivating. They do art there so well. So well. And these are like the shows that we saw outside of our school.
okay.
So well.
Um, what was besides putting the PTSD bubble to the side?
Mhm.
What was the wor- I want to ask about the worst experience, but what I really mean is like I went to a play and it was terrible, or like I ate this food and I was something like you know what I mean. Not like the deep scaries, but like
From like a standard-ish
yeah,
experience of not the depths of hell, what was
yeah.
my least favorable thing?
Mhm.
Um, my least favorable thing. Really, it was the food and the lack of sunlight.
Okay.
It was the food and the lack of sunlight. By the end of spring into summer, clear skies. Clear skies, very nice. That early part, I've never experienced such a vitamin D deficiency before in my life. And that really does a number on anybody. But once again, PTSD bubble aside, not seeing the sun for weeks on end, I don't know how people do it.
Okay.
And it's cold and rainy. Yeah, that yeah. Also, quick thing about the food. One of my classmates, we all tried to find like little things to give us like a spark of joy. And one classmate said, I don't care how much it is. I am finding a watermelon. I'm finding a watermelon and I'm making a fruit salad. And we said, good luck. He spent $15 on one watermelon. That's, and there were other fruits that he had to buy. I don't know how much money he put into that one fruit salad, but he said, by God, I need this. Like it became more than a fruit salad. That's like what we had to do.
Do you know if the watermelon was even good?
I tried it. It was all right.
Okay.
But he said he put the work in. He put the work in. There was a lot of heart that went into that fruit salad, which probably made everything taste better, but yeah.
Okay. Was it hard to find non-gray food?
There are kinds of vegetation there that you can find in abundance. Um, there's a lot of potatoes. No sweet potatoes though. Like there's some sweet potatoes, but they're terrible. So like plain potatoes you can find in abundance. I can't remember what kinds of
Potatoes are a gray food. Let's be real.
right.
Most of the time, by the time you cook it, it's a great that.
No,
Okay.
you got me there. You got me there. They do be gray. There's a lot of sweets. There's a lot of sweets over there, different kinds of sweets.
Do you mean like candies or do you mean like baked goods?
Baked goods.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of
Alright.
different kinds of
You can
baked
live on
goods.
baked goods. If you're
Um,
a pretty girly like me, you can live on baked goods. That sounds,
right, right. Lots of little candy, not candies, lots of little like cookies and num num nums, cakes, things like that. Those are all over the place. Um, Problem though, once again, my experience, it could have changed by now. Water was more expensive than wine. Wine was more expensive than vodka. The amount of there are actually, from what I remember, happy to be wrong, but I was told this by a friend that lived there while I was there are so many, not just functioning alcoholics, but like unfunctioning alcoholics, that there are government jobs made for unfunctioning alcoholics. So that way they can still like, and they tend to be what I saw were the sweepers sweeping up a lot of the dust around the corners of Moscow. Sure, they might have fallen asleep on the job, standing up, leaning against the building, but they're still clocked in.
clocked in.
Clocked
No,
in.
you don't need to go to that rally. Clock in.
Clock in. There's another way to be unfunctional, but they were doing the job. They were picking up the
Okay.
dust, the
Okay.
nap time every now and then, but clock in.
All right. So you, what did you, besides food and your family, what did you miss the most? Name 3 things you really miss from the US.
Oh my God. Okay. Besides food and my family,
Mhm.
because the first thing that came to my mind was bagels. But
Okay, so we're gonna name bagels like 0.5. Now I need 3 more. Come on.
right. Okay. Besides food and my family, what did I miss? I missed besides food and my family, I feel like this goes without saying, the sun. Really missed the sun. Um, I really I missed like there was a version of brunch, but there wasn't. No, that's food. Oh my goodness, sorry. Love a brunch. Um, I miss going to the movies. I miss going to the movies by myself or like with people. And there were movie theaters there, but like, eh.
Did they show American movies?
They showed American movies, but they were dubbed in Russian. So you could kind of hear the English, but it was there was so much Russian on top of it. I was like, there's too many sounds happening here for me to know what's going on. I
There
missed that.
wasn't enough of an English-speaking population for at least some theaters to have, like, a
Oh.
week of this movie in its original language.
And honestly, even if they did, like in a mildly in like an inspirational way, Russians are very stubborn. So even if there were enough Americans, it's like, no, you're in
Mhm.
Russia. We're speaking Russian.
Okay.
Period.
Right.
I miss the beach. I miss the beach.
Okay.
Yeah. Very landlocked. Very landlocked. Um, I miss besides fam. I mean, I did talk to my friends out of the country, like, hop on a Zoom, hop on a FaceTime kind of a thing. But ah, yeah, I missed my people. I missed being like I'm the kind of person that really enjoys doing menial tasks, like doing errands with my friends. Like I love a body doubling situation while we're like out and about. And yeah, I was there with friends, but I didn't feel safe or comfortable enough to like go out and do things. Like, oh, I need pencils. I'd love to go. I could make a whole like I could have a great time just going out and like finding pencils with a friend. I couldn't do that. Like there was all of the little things that I do with company, I wasn't able to do. I felt very trapped in that dorm.
Okay, so
So I
was it
miss
basically just for you, like, dorm to school, school to dorm, dorm to
that's it.
school, school to dorm?
Yep. And there were people that were able to like, see a little bit more of Moscow. There were people that dated in Moscow. There were people that went to see shows outside of the program. There were people that ate at more restaurants. There were people that found a gym and really enjoyed the. I missed going to the gym. I did not feel
I was gonna
safe
ask you
enough
about
to go.
that. The
And
gym
so,
was one of the things I was thinking about when we were at our 3. Yeah.
oh, sorry, what?
The gym was one of the things I was thinking about, like, are there gyms? Could you go to a gym?
There were people that like some of the especially the guys like the cis white guys they all found a gym. It wasn't super expensive from what they said, and it had everything they needed. There were like spot like saunas at the gym, there were pools, they had all the weights, they like were able to go get out some steam, come back, and I said, wow, must be nice. I missed the gym.
Must be nice. Landlocked,
Mhm.
school and back. Oh, before you got to Russia, did you have any thoughts about dating over there?
um Lightly, not particularly. So, before we went to Moscow, we had a week in Poland,
Mhm.
Krakow, Poland specifically. Y'all, I love Poland. I really do. And I can't say that we saw a lot of Poland. We saw a lot of Krakow, and we went to Auschwitz to for historical purposes, right? Um, and I really, really liked Krakow. And for the week that I was there, I met a guy. He was hot. He was cool. It was my first time, date like possibly dating abroad. And there was a part of me that was like, honestly, I kind of want to stay here. I wouldn't have been possible, but I was like, I didn't even know that this was a thing that could happen. Hmm. So my mind was open to it because of the time that I had in Krakow. But it didn't take long for me to be like, one, I don't think I'm going to have the time to date while I'm here unless I'm very proactively and like, I will sleep less or I will just not learn my lines. Um, but then, yeah, I did meet one guy in Moscow. He was there on a Fulbright scholarship, and he like met all of our like he came to one of our shows, he connected with a bunch of classmates, he was really cute. He and I had like a whole day together, but one of our other classmates, love him to death, love him to death. I don't think he may or may not have saved my life, who knows, because the guy said he was on a Fulbright scholarship, clearly very smart. At the end of the day, you don't know. But it was me, that guy, and Leland says, wow, I'm so happy to be hanging out with the two of you. And then he just hung out with the two of us for like 7 hours.
Leland said, no, 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 no.
Leland said,
No.
I don't think Leland knew that he said that, but he was like, I'm gonna stay and we're gonna explore and I'm gonna hear all of the. He was also one of the dramaturge and he knew so much information about
Okay.
all these places around Moscow. So he's like, oh my gosh, let's go here. Let's go do this. Oh my, Shayna, you don't know that. And I can't remember the other guy's name. It's like, oh, you would love this too. Like,
What if there were three wheels on this bike? What if?
it was an aggressive third wheel situation, but I'm like, Leland might have saved my life because who knows?
But this person on the Fulbright also wasn't Russian.
Mm-mm.
So as far as like dating Russian people, had you considered that before you got to Moscow? Like maybe I'll meet a guy. Like, so you said some of your classmates did, right? They dated.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't ask. Were they dating Russian people or were they dating foreigners?
They were. Some of them were dating Russia or trying to date Russian people.
Mhm.
Other people, dating would be putting it lightly. They were hooking up. There were people that were hooking up, and then there were people that were like trying to date. Going back to the conversation about the difference in experiences between Black men and Black women abroad, one of my classmates, he wasn't trying to date. He was just the only Black man in our class. He was not trying to date. He was trying to hook up. And him trying to hook up, and we kept saying, listen, especially in these countries where you are a Black man, and it is a very conservative situation among white people and their views on their women, please don't do this. The way that he almost got, people tried to put cigarettes out on him for talking to white women. And we said, you don't, not that. And he kept going back.
But like my question,
yes,
on the surface, without knowing anything else, is it worth it? Like, is it that good? Like, you want to die?
it's what it was giving. He said,
What's happening here?
He said, I'm gonna go to bed with somebody if it kills me. And we said, no, not if it kills you.
Because I'm sure there are not a lot of foreigners, but enough that like, if there's a need, it could be met without getting into the Russian population.
Right. Like Moscow is still an international city. It's the capital. You can find foreigners. You don't have to do this.
I mean, sometimes maybe if there's like, I don't know, but maybe there's a little fear of death that makes it a little bit better. I don't.
Potentially. But like that, maybe. It's kind of giving the same way that I look at people that love to go like skydiving, but like with a crickety umbrella, not umbrella, parachute. It's just, yeah, it's like, hey, the closer to death I feel, the more alive I feel. And I'm like, but why can't you just be alive and feel alive,
Yeah. Imagine risking your life for some dick.
Yo, embarrassing.
Never.
What a phrase. Imagine risking your life for some somebody needed a good shaking. Somebody needed some help. Somebody needed Iyanla to come in and fix a life,
Because also, when you try to put a cigarette out on me, somebody's got to die. Like right here, right now. What are we doing?
And it can't be me.
So and we're just, you're like, oh my bad, I'm on to the next woman then? Like, is that how that?
So from what, because I think I walked away after he said that, but I think what happened was he was at a bar. He was talking it up to a Russian lady. A white Russian lady. White Russian men saw this happening. An absolutely not moment came. And he, like, brother man, he wasn't even actively paying attention in a lot of our Russian classes. So these men might have been threatening him for a while, but
He's focused. He's focused up.
he's locked in, locked in. And so they were smoking, and then they went after him, and then he said, "Whoa," and then he left. At some, I don't know if there was like an exchange. It wouldn't even matter because he don't speak Russian. So he left, and then he was like, "Yeah, I guess I just really shouldn't go to the bar on those nights." And I was like, "I think you
What are those nights? Like every night?
the sex nights. You shouldn't go to the bar on the sex nights. Is that what you're saying? Is that?
Woo.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. All
yeah.
right. So that's a male experience.
That was the only, and he was the only black guy in our class, so that was the only black male experience that I saw happening while we were over there, and it was real dumb. So it was real dumb.
Okay. It sounds not smart.
No, no.
Not focused on personal safety.
What is, at the end of the day, what is personal safety?
We take
Like
lots of risks every day.
like
Every day.
there's vagina and then there's personal safety. Bing, bing. Mm, mm, mm. It's
Things
just
I'm not willing to die for. Huh. Putting a cigarette but also like can we talk about someone trying to put a cigarette out on you because they see you talking to them and they probably don't even know. Or
it is just
like
that
that.
our woman.
Let's look at that. It's not their girlfriend, probably not someone with them, or there would have been other ways to end that. But like,
And you know what? Now that we're talking about it, because he didn't say anything about her trying to step in and say, "Whoa, guys, this is what we're dying for." Okay.
oh, woo, okay. So
Mm.
dating, you had a classmate who had a Russian boyfriend or someone the year before you. Someone had a Russian boyfriend.
Yes, yes. The year
Black
before me, there was a black
Russian.
woman who had a Russian boyfriend. Yes.
Did you hear anything about her experience dating a Russian man, or how that even started? Because, like, I mean, if I'm hearing experiences that say it sound like yours, I'm not going out. No, thank you. Right? So,
Right.
like,
Mhm.
what did you hear about her experience?
So she, when she was in, the guy that she was dating was a so there's the American school, like the
Mhm.
program for foreigners coming in, and there is in tandem an entire like Russian school of
Okay.
multiple years, right? And we do have some overlap, like you could meet in the cafeteria. Sometimes they come to our shows, we go to their shows. So one of the guys from the Russian school and her connected. So they met in school.
Okay. It wasn't like a stranger on a street or a dating app, are they?
Mm-mm. Nope,
Okay.
they met in school.
Okay.
Um, she was the first black woman that he had probably not ever seen, but it seemed like she was the first black woman that he'd ever spoken to, and definitely the first that he'd ever dated. And he was still in the program, like he was graduating. That he was graduating when we were coming in. And at this point, Imma be he said, "Once you go black, you can't go back," right? And because when she left, they, like, tried to do the long distance thing briefly, and she said, "Actually, I'm good, thank you." But then I came, and I don't really look like her, but, like
But to Russian eyes, you might look enough. In that cold, dark winter night, you look enough like that other black girl that you could be.
and he said, "Hey, Shayna," and I said, "I don't like this.
You're being
I
creepy.
know about you, I don't like this."
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, and that my curiosity was about like meeting random Russians like in the street, like in the school. I see how that would happen. But like, is it the kind of place where you could like go to a bar and a man would hit on you and not be like super creepy?
I don't know. All the people that dated in Moscow were the men. dated, hooked up, whatever. They were the men. The women's were we were like, absolutely not. We don't,
That answers some questions.
yeah, like we don't see this going well for us.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right. I want to double back real quick, and I want to talk about Afro-Russians.
Hmm.
Okay, so you mentioned them earlier. Start from the top.
Okay. So in my experience of being in Moscow, so me and the other two black girls, black women, we would text each other and like freak out whenever we saw another black person on the street. We'd be like, oh my gosh, we saw another one. And then our little group chat would be like, oh my God, yay, right? Like, because we weren't gonna like exchange anything. They probably don't speak English. Our Russian is terrible. But there was this one day, and it haunts me because I'm like, what was going on? Was there a convention? There were, and I think it was very specifically Nigerians because I saw the garb, and I have Nigerian friends who wear similar garb and patterns. And there were like 60 Nigerian women in one part. Like I started taking back alleys to go to schools because all of the terrible things that happened kept happening on Tverskaya. So I was taking a back way to get to school. This was before like I let people help me, like my white friends like pop in, and I was still in my like PTSD bubble. And there were like 60 Nigerian, like Afro-Russian women in Nigerian garb, and I heard them speaking Russian, and I was like, and I felt like I entered a time warp.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was no longer, because I had to walk through them to get to. So I turned around for a quick moment, and I couldn't actually see white people.
Mm.
And I said,
But you heard white people.
I heard the whites, but I saw my aunties, and I said, "What the?" I'm assuming am I allowed to curse on here?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I said, "What the fuck? What?" And then I had to keep walking and go to school, but I was just suspicious for the rest of the day. And then I gathered my other black ladies, and I said, "Did you all see all of the black ladies?" And they said, "No, Shayna, we didn't see that." And I said, "I will not be gaslighted."
You made that up.
No, I saw what I saw. But there was
Mhm.
another day. This is not Afro-Russian though, but there was another day. I think there was a basketball, like an
Well, wait,
international.
before we get to this other day,
Right, right, right.
did the black aunties acknowledge you, speak to you,
No,
try to give you a hug, feed
no,
you, anything?
no.
Okay. Did they, so like not even like, oh, we see a black girl by
Not
herself?
even the nod. No, not even the nod.
Okay. I mean, you know, a nod isn't universal
Yeah, I
sometimes.
don't think that's an international thing,
I'm just
unfortunately.
curious if like in a group of that many women, there was at least one person who was like, hello, black person in Russian.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. All right.
It
Basketball
seems to be like in their zone.
Okay.
I don't know what they gathered for, but it must have been important.
Okay.
Um, so this is not Afro-Russian, but it did also feel like a Twilight Zone moment
Uh-huh.
because it was a spring day, like spring. The sun was out, it was beautiful. And we left this. I remember I was leaving the school to go and find some food that made me happy. There was eventually, this is a food thing, but there was a restaurant nearby that you had to look for to find. But that was my saving grace. That was my saving grace for the last like 3 weeks because I only knew it existed for like 3 weeks before we left.
Mhm.
The food there, the smoothies there, everything, A1, A1. Helped to jumpstart my, I don't know, something positive. But I was leaving the school to get ready to walk over there. And as I'm leaving, I see like 4 or 5 really tall, beautiful black men sprinting past. And some of them see them, and they go, "Hey, sis." And I go, "Wait a minute." And then like they just like, and it's like one after another. Another one says, "Hey, girl." Another goes, "Whoop, whoop," like whatever, right? And I'm like, I know somebody else has to have seen this. Are we gathering? Like, is it time? Are we here?
Like, do I need to be running with them? Where are we going?
No, but like they were like laughing, ha
Yeah.
ha, kind of it wasn't a scared running.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, if it
Yeah.
was a scared running, I'd be
No. I meant, but also like wherever y'all going, can I go too? Like,
right, right.
what's up?
It happened so fast, and they were, like, so tall and so fast. I was giving basketball players,
Mhm,
from, like, an international game or whatever,
mhm.
and then as they run past, I hop on the group chat, and I'm like, "Ladies, did you see that?" And as I'm typing, they're typing it, "There are black men here. There are black men from the US here." And I'm like, "You saw them too?" And I was like, "Did anybody talk to them? Did anybody get a name, a phone number? Can we all hang out? They seem like fun." They
Nothing?
booked and they were gone, like a phantom in the night.
Were they real, Shayna? Or did
Stop
you and your
it.
friends have, like
No, because the group chat said they were real. The
but
group chat
but
said they were.
you all what is it called when you guys all have the same, it's something ado, where you have the same fully it's not, no. It's when you all have the same, like, fake vision. Like, you guys see the same you
I
have the same crazy. You have the same
the same
moment
crazy.
of crazy.
Um, we were not synced up like that.
Mm,
We were
okay.
all sure, all of the people with uteruses bled at the same time. Synced up psychosis, we were not at that level yet. Thus,
Okay,
I know that
okay,
those men were real,
okay.
and we saw them, they saw us, and they seemed like they were not there long enough to be as sad as we looked.
Okay, so they might have been in and out.
I think they were in.
Now, okay, so speaking of, like, I'm assuming in 2016 there were sports teams in Russia that Black people played for,
I'm assuming so.
but there was no, like, there was no way to, like, get to them, to their moment, to, like
There might have been, but we would have needed to somebody said a mirage in the desert. I saw them and they saw us. I will not be gaslighted in this comment section. Um, like, I'm assuming there were games and stuff going on, and we did every now and then have downtime, but for those outside of the artistic space situations, we would have had to go by ourselves. And so I was not taking a taxi. And all the other people that would have been interested to find where all the other black people were the other black people. And I said, we need at least a couple whites for safety reasons. And they were doing their own things. And I said, all right. But honestly, I wasn't even thinking about, oh my goodness, let's go find the basketball game. Had I had I would have gone and like gathered people to find the basketball game.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's folie à deux. I don't know how to say it in French.
Uh,
Known as a shared psychosis or shared delusional disorder is a psychosis which symptoms of a delusional belief are transmitted from one individual to another.
but you see, it sounds like transmitted means that one person experiences it first and then they give it to another. But it was tandem. It was tandem.
You know, I'm gonna give it to you.
Thank
Who
you.
am I? Who am I to say you just made up these men?
They were real and they were beautiful and they were fast and other people saw them,
Okay.
is what I tell myself.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. Y'all weren't just crazy together. You weren't like
No,
I
because we
feel
weren't
like I know
standing
I
next to each
saw
other.
them too.
No, like they were. It was
I'm
lunchtime.
I they were what?
It was lunchtime, so we were all kind of scattered. Like none of us. We don't all. Once we figured out that we didn't have to eat the sad borscht every day in the
Uh-huh.
cafeteria, we all would just scatter for
Okay.
lunch. And
Okay.
so, like, when we don't necessarily like eat lunch, sometimes you just want to be like back because we're also living together. Like our dorms, we were split in half, where half of the class was on one side, half was on the other. We all shared the kitchen. We all shared. There were two bathrooms. We were living. We saw each other. I know too much about a lot of these classmates. I love them. They're family, but I'm like, ooh. When the men started getting comfortable, it's just like I don't need to see your booty. It's please don't.
I lived
Right?
at a co-ed. I was just telling my friend that I don't even know if I want to say it. I will say it here. The view that I have that I think is inherently most problematic is I do not want to see a sign that says all gender bathrooms.
Oh.
I don't. Because it reminds me that men who identify as men use this as well. So even like I was in a place the other day that had 2 single stall bathrooms, and instead of just saying like bathroom, bathroom, they both said like all gender bathroom. If I didn't see it, I wouldn't think about the fact that like, and I lived in a co-ed dorm. So I'm not concerned about like trans women using the same bathroom as me. I don't like men using the same bathroom I do because they're gross.
They're
Why
just.
can't you close the door? Why is there a used condom on the ground?
Why is
What
there pee on the floor?
why do you pee on? I don't. Ew. Ew.
Why?
That's like I'm like literally like I am the kind of person where like if you I don't care who I'm next to in a stall. I do not care. But like I don't need the sign to say it. Because then my brain is like, ugh, a man was in here.
Oh, nothing.
Ugh.
The amount of pubes. The amount.
Why can't you close the stall? There's a stall door. There are no urinals in here. There's a
I
stall
also have
door.
deep
Why can't
concerns
you
about their
close the stall door
gastrointestinal tract.
when you go to the bathroom? What's happening? Sorry, y'all. We got off topic. It's a.
It's
Felt it deep in my chest.
right though. Jesus. And when and like once again, we're coming back around, but a conversation that keeps coming up is like because like right now I'm very actively not dating, but once I move back to Spain and like get myself all situated, I'm like, okay, I think I might be open again. But then people are like, oh, Shayna, like, so you're gonna be dating, da, 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 da. And then the conversation eventually leads to, would you be open to living with a man? And I said, living with a man. And that's the response, like every time.
Like, okay, so Nichelle said individual bathrooms are the best. And like living with a man, yes, you have your own space. I have my own space. We could even possibly share a communal bathroom that's not our only bathroom. But stranger men, get out of here. Anyone who identifies as a woman, share my bathroom. I do not care. You you identify as any gender that's not a man, anything, anything that is not. Listen, I was scarred in that dorm. I tell you, I was scarred in that dorm. Anyone who does not identify as a man, come in because you're gonna have some couth about it.
It really does change the way you view the world. It really does change the way you look at all of them. The things that I have heard from not in the bathroom, from within the bathroom, I said, I know, fighting demons. And then like they just come out, we assume they wash their hands, and then they want to ask me about my day. My day, your spirit, your colon. What is oh,
Did you flush? Did you do the important steps?
the amount of
Why
poopery
not?
that we bought
Why
beforehand
not
because
you?
we all knew.
Mm-mm.
Did they use it? Oh, Jesus.
Mm-mm.
Sorry. We're coming back. We're coming back. We're coming back.
I listen. There are 2 bathroom stalls. They are both individual stalls. It doesn't need to say all gender, because obviously we all got to use it, right? Like they're two doors. Oh,
It's okay.
I know it's supposed to feel welcoming,
Mhm.
but it triggers like, and so this is why I know it's a little problematic, y'all. Excuse me, I am who I am. I do not care who pees next.
She caught herself.
I caught myself because I walked in a bathroom once at an airport,
Mhm.
and without even thinking about it, I was like, I think you're in the wrong place. And after I said it, I was like, oh, that wasn't very kind. But also, I think you're in the wrong place because you're wearing a baseball hat, plaid shirt, could be anybody.
Mhm.
You're facing the toilet with your dick in your hand. And the reason I know that is because you didn't close the stall door. I think you're in the wrong place. I
Oh,
think you're in the wrong place. I think you made the left when you should have made the right. Because so anyone who should be in the ladies' room knows
and
to close the stall door. Thank you.
Fundamental.
Right? Like, why am I looking at your ass when I walk in the airport bathroom? What's
Oh,
happening here? I think
Jesus.
you're in the wrong place. I'm so sorry. Listen, I don't mean to offend you if this is offensive to you, but like close the door or go to the place where the door is. It's okay when the door is open. We're in the ladies.
So here's a thought. Here's a thought. Maybe there should be like still two bathrooms, but like with decorum, without decorum. You know, like if you want to be uncouth, there is a space for you.
If you
Anything can
close the
happen.
door. Okay, so JG said that's me using the sheepy tool, and that's fine. But JG, you would close the door. I know you. You would not be in something marked the ladies' room, the women's bathroom, whatever, and
Booty
not
out.
right with your booty out in the first stall from the door, so everybody has to walk past you. We closed the door in anyway. I don't know how we got here. I'm gonna switch it up. We're gonna go to Spain. Okay, so you lived in Spain for a while and you're moving back to Spain.
Yes.
By the way, we're not in a rush. If you have questions that you need answered in the next 35 minutes, drop them here. All right, let's go. You lived in Spain before and you're planning on living in Spain again.
Yes.
Okay. Where, what, when? Tell us more.
Fair. So first time I went to Spain was almost immediately after Moscow was done. Our program said we are giving you connecting flights from from Frankfurt, Germany back to the States. But if you want to have a gap in between those two, in between that connecting flight, just let us know. Me and some of my friends said absolutely. So we planned like a month-long Euro trip. My first ever time in Europe, I said, I need to get some of this anxiety terror out of my system. Went to Barcelona, had the eeriest experience of feeling like the city remembered me. I'd never been there before in my life. And I said, I need to explore this.
Okay.
So years go by, I start writing, put all of the acting stuff kind of to the side, even though I do kind of use it every now and then on my YouTube channel, which is very fun. But because my freelancing has been going so well, I had the opportunity to, not live in the US and live wherever I wanted to. So I said, okay, now that I know what's going on, I'm going to move to Spain for 3 months, which is what you can get with like a US citizen, a US passport without a visa. So I said, I'm going to go for 3 months. I'm going to test it out. I'm going to see if there's more to be explored with that feeling. Went to Spain from like September to December. It felt so right. I went to Barcelona more specifically. It felt so right. Made community there, made community very immediately with like people that are local, international, whatever. Work started to take off. Fun fact, I'm actually going to be, as soon as I move there, I'm going to be the main contributor for Wine Spectator for all things Spanish wine. So if you read Wine Spectator and you see anything relating to Spain, it could be wine, it's possibly going to be food and bev. It's going to come from me. And they pay so well. They pay so well.
Okay, so you have been historically a freelancer. We never hear freelancers say anybody pays well, right?
Right. There are some publications that do pay well. There's less and less of them over time, but there are some publications that do pay very well. Wine Spectator, and I work mostly in the travel, food, and beverage space. My specific niche are those three things with the intersection of politics. So with that, digital, a lot of places do not pay well. Wine Spectator, though, pays a minimum of $1 per word for digital.
Ooh.
Print? So, there are very few, right. And when I go over there, I'm going to be contributing for Business Insider pretty consistently about like other things regarding living in Spain, moving to Spain, questions about, right? So those kinds of things started to fall into place pretty quickly. And I said, all right, I think I need to explore this a little bit more. So came back to the States, started gathering all of my paperwork, all of my things so that way I could make a longer term move to Spain. So in a week and a half, I will be well, I'm going to be going to Europe. I have a nice little Greece trip with my best friend. And then after that Greece trip, I land in Barcelona and I will be there for at least a year. I'm going to be there on a student visa because I really want to. I work so much in Latin America or Spanish speaking countries. I want my Spanish to be significantly better. But there's a lot of things that are in the works right now. It's a lot of good stuff, potentially good things that might make it easier for me to switch from a student visa to a digital nomad visa
Mm.
in the midst. And then once that happens, I have the opportunity to stay for 3 years with a possibility of renewal. So
Okay.
we'll see.
All right. That's good because I was going to ask you about visas anyway. So
Yeah.
glad you
Oh,
did that. Okay. So your plans are to live in Barcelona or to be in a different part of the country?
I'm going to be in I'm going to be based in Barcelona, but because of the amount of writing I see myself doing while I'm based there, I'm going to be hopping around from region to region pretty consistently, but home will be Barcelona.
What are you most looking forward to in Barcelona?
I mean, food is kind of my life at this point. The Barcelona food scene, it is so lively and exciting and new and creative and free. I started dipping my toes into it when I was there, especially with my local friends, and I'm just so excited to see more. I miss my friends also. Like, I have a really good community over there, and they've been like up my ass, being like, "Shayna, when are you coming back? Shayna, are you?" Da-da-da." Like they have been. They're going to be helping me find an apartment while I'm there. I have a roommate set up for my first like month to 2 months, so that way I have some buffer time to find my own space. But they're like, "Hey, if you need help, just like let us know." And I said, "I will take you up on that."
Okay.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to explore Europe, like Europe, the Middle East, North Africa. It's all so close that I'm like, I want to see. I want to see. I want to experience. I want to write about all of this from my point of view as not just a Black woman, but also for those of you who don't know, which might be a decent amount of you, I also have something called neuromyelitis optica, which is basically multiple sclerosis. A little bit different, but I get the same treatments. It's very similar symptoms, but it doesn't affect my brain. It only affects my spinal cord and optic nerve. I had glasses long before this though. So from the space of accessibility meets intersectional feminism, meets food, meets travel, meets all the, I'm like, so excited to learn and experience and write and meet more people. So yeah, those are the things that I'm most excited about.
What are you least excited about?
Least excited about
Or what has been the hardest part of figuring out this move?
visa.
Okay.
Visa.
Usually
Visa
what it
is the hardest part of figuring out this move.
is. Okay. Um, have you identified a doctor in Spain? You said you
Yes.
mentioned treatments, so you figured that part out?
Yeah, so what I'm going to be doing for now is I'm still a US citizen. I have to pay taxes here. So I still have like American health insurance, US health insurance. So what I'm going to do is I have a neurologist in Spain just in case of emergencies. But every 6 months, I get treatments every 6 months. So every 6 months, I'm going to hop back into the States, get my treatments, and then just come back until I'm able to apply for residency in Spain. And to which case, then I would be able to get, like, I'd be paying taxes over there. Thus, I would be able to get health insurance over there also.
Okay. Okay. And every 6 months is like a good time to come back and,
Hi,
turn to your 90.
family. Hi, people.
Yeah.
Hug a grandma.
Okay. All right. Um, what have we thought about what you want your life to look like in Spain.
Yes. So, what I would love for my life to look like is I really want I want I want a one-bedroom apartment that inspires. Do I want a two-bedroom? I want a two-bedroom so that way I could have an office and also like a space for a friend if they want to come by, but mostly for the office. I don't want too many people come. I don't want my apartment to be my ideally condo. Ideally condo. This is dream situation. Um, I don't want to feel like a hotel. So, ideally condo, two-bedroom with a nice office, lots of sunlight, close enough to the beach, easy access to the airport. Ideally in like I really love Gothico and I really like the Elborn neighborhoods. Food wise, it's where you want to be. I already have a gym that I loved over there and I'm really excited to go back to it. I really want to continue with my Spanish classes, but I want to have a hobby. Like a hobby that's not going to be monetized. And I'm thinking it's either going to be pottery or dance lessons. I am open to dating as long as like I'm open to dating, but it really needs to be only with people or an individual that is better than my singleness. So like, well, being with you has to be better than being by myself. And if it's not, then I'm really cool just being solo. Um, because of the amount of work that I've been doing in the food and travel space, I get a lot of PR trips, press trips, things like that. I really want to have trips to Europe are fine, but I really want to start exploring Africa. So dream situation, like one trip to Africa every month and a half would be a dream situation. Different region, um, yeah, different region for different things. Maybe one is like an adventure trip, another is a food trip, another is like a wellness trip, another is just culturally focused, another is just I want to see it all. I want to see it all. And if this 1 year goes great, then I'll extend for 3 years. But I also don't necessarily see myself saying, unless something crazy happens, I don't see myself saying Spain is my forever place. So I don't know what comes next, but I really want my time in Spain to feel as full as those 3 months tasted like it could be.
Okay.
So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Okay. What let's go backwards. Let's go backwards. Let's go backwards to Playa del Carmen, where you were based for a while.
Hmm.
How long were you there?
I was based there for 6 months, but I did once again have to hop in and out often for work.
Were you able to create community there?
Yes.
Why aren't you going back there?
It felt like my time there was coming to a close.
Okay.
Like I don't really have the words for it. It just really felt like internally, and we're done. And I've learned to not fight that feeling. I've tried to fight it before and it has only led to mayhem. So I started feeling it around like month 4, where I was like, I'm going to stay for the entirety of this visa because I'm also like paying for this apartment. But let's see if this kind of continues. My community was really sweet, really great. It I'm still like in touch with some of them on socials, and it just felt like, and Playa is also a very transient town. So while I was able to build community, my community was also pretty transient, which like is fine. It just it felt like that chapter for me living there at that time was coming to a close. And yeah.
Okay. And Barcelona.
Oh, Barcelona.
No. Feels like a chapter that you should open right now.
Yes. Yes. It feels like a chapter that I should open. And with the amount of things that are coming my way, I'm getting confirmation, external confirmation that this is a chapter that needs to be opened time-wise right now.
How has your family adjusted to the idea of you being over there, which is a little further away than Mexico, over
Mhm.
there for a year or more?
I my family, I think the hardest thing for them was my move to Mexico, just because it was my first time. I'm the only person on both sides of my family that has decided to make a long-term move outside of the United States.
Mhm.
Interestingly enough, both sides of my family are immigrants, right? They're Jamaica, Haiti. So I'm like, you guys know what this is about. It's like, it's fine. And also, I'm coming back to say hello and hug, and like, you guys can visit me, right? But there's this ongoing fear of, oh, the United States is the only safe place, and the rest of the world is full of dangers and terrors, especially for Black people. And I'm like, that's inverted, but okay. So me moving to Mexico, I think brought up a lot of anxieties for everyone on both sides of my family, especially with like their preconceived notions about like crime, the cartel, da 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 da. In reality, if you don't go looking for trouble, there won't be trouble.
If you don't sell drugs or buy drugs, you probably won't have to deal with too many drug dealers.
Isn't it insane how that works? Isn't it absolutely mind blowing? Um, I have felt safer in Mexico than I did in the United States. And that really opened up my mind to, oh my God, people live like this.
Mhm.
I want to live like this. And I think my family saw, and in talking to me, because they were calling me with anxiety, and then I was responding to them with, I have never felt so at peace and calm. And my body needs to remain as cortisol free as possible, because cortisol, like stress hormones, are the things that trigger my autoimmune system. For other people, it's inflammation in the food. For other people, it might be an which could also be another form of inflammation. Cortisol is also inflammation. And for me, it is the thing that ignites my ability to not feel my legs.
Hmm.
So keeping my stress levels low and manageable, living outside of the United States does that for me. So them seeing the positive experience that I had calmed them. While Spain is further, weirdly enough, I think because it's Europe, they're like, oh, it's safer there. And I'm like, that's something that y'all need to work through. Um, but like safer there than like Mexico, which yeah. Um, but yeah, they seem to be navigating it pretty well. Grandma's gonna be upset because
Come on.
my baby's not here. And I'm like, Grandma, I'm gonna come and visit. We're gonna call. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna make Christmas extra special. Um, but yeah, I think now they're adjusting better. And now the younger generation, meaning like not the aunties, uncles, grandparents, but like the cousins my age and younger, especially with seeing what's going on in the US, they're getting more and more, not just open to me moving, but they're like, hey, Shayna, like if you find a spot that you think would be nice for me, like, could you just like recommend it? Like, hey,
Okay.
Shayna, I'm thinking about doing something similar to you, but like, it's really scary. And I'm like, yeah, it is scary. It's something brand new. But like if you want to keep doing what you're doing, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you want something new, you're gonna have to try something new.
Okay. Please pause for this commercial break. Okay, so if you are thinking about moving abroad and you don't know what to do, you don't know the right place, you're not sure how to make it happen, you're worried about visas and healthcare and all the other stuff, come to Exodus Summit 2024.
Hey.
You can see information at exodussummit.com. Sign up for the waitlist. And it will be happening October 11th through 14th of this year. This will be our 5th summit, and we've helped thousands of Black women spread their wings and go to new and other places. So if you're new to my channel and you're like, this sounds cool, but how do I make it happen for me? You don't have to get in Shayna's inbox asking her 1,000 questions. You can show up. We're going to have a variety of women. We always do over 3 days, giving you their different experiences around the world. A variety of Black women, because this is who it's focused on and centered on. And so, yeah, if you're like, oh, this sounds cool, but how do I do it? ExodusSummit.com. And we're back. Okay, so you are like, yes, I can do it. The cousins are like, that sounds cool. Grandma's like, my baby.
Yes.
Um, I find it so fascinating that everyone in my family is an immigrant. My immediate family. And so I know that like a lot of times the immigrant experience of the US is that like we left those scary places behind and we've come to this place that was lined with gold. And while it hasn't actually been lined with gold, we've been told our whole life that it's so great. Now that we're here, we're not like we're never going to let go of it. A long time ago, 4 years ago, I was did a little bit of work with this Haitian woman, and when she asked me, as a photographer, when she asked me her family was from Haiti. I think she was born in the U.S. She asked me what I did, and I told her, I helped move abroad. She was like, why would you, why would anyone do? So confused.
Mhm.
In fact, it was before our very first summit. She was like, why would anyone do that? Why would you leave the U.S.? And it's just weird because it's not weird. It's understandable. Like a lot of people's families put so much effort into coming here, right? Like so many dreams rode on the back of them coming here. Like their entire family that they left behind had
Mhm.
dreams of what their life would be in the US. And so it's really hard to like acknowledge that the experience you're having isn't the experience you expected. Or even if you're having a good experience, it's not the best, right? Because like you were told you're coming to this great place. So like, where's the greatness? Where do we get to the great? Like,
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. I just need to do this one thing and work these more jobs, and I just need to do.
I
It's
need to work a number of more jobs all at the same time,
all
and
of
then and then I'm just not working
this.
hard enough. So my business partner Stephanie likes to say that things are fruits of a slavery tree, and
That's a big old pomegranate right there.
right, like, hi, immigrant friends. We
Yes.
were all on the plantation too, right? And like your fruit might look the same. It might look different from somebody else's based on where you're from and what you believe. But like so many people, once they get to America, like so I not having family that goes back in the US, I hear a lot of people say like, oh, I can't leave the US because like we built this country, or like we deserve to be here, or we like I'm waiting for my reparations. Baby, if you're waiting for your reparations, I want you just to pack a bag.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
It's a beautiful idea, beautiful dream, but
We're no
it's the same idea as like waiting on potential. It's what you would do if you had but the reality of it is that it's the potential of a thing that's not in your hand.
everybody that these colonizing countries and everybody they've wanted to give reparations to, they've given reparations to already.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
can just
It's
say
already
that.
happened.
It's already happened.
Yeah.
They've already done what they're going to do. But anyhow, but yeah, there's that like I have to constantly be aware of it, like the way immigrants view generally their life in the US and the way that people with
Oh, okay, we're back. We're back.
people with long roots in the US view the US. It's looking at the same thing, but using different lenses. Sometimes you see a different thing through your different lens, right? And it's not all a universal experience. Like, of course, we're all going to see things different ways. Um, get out.
If you want to get out, now is the time.
Get
If you want to get out, now is the time. There's no time, truly no time like the present.
Listen, okay. So I feel like I think what a lot of people miss is that every year it gets harder. And like sometimes it's little things. Like every year in Mexico, the minimum wage goes up. When I moved to Mexico, it was $8 a day, and now it's 10 something dollars a day, over $10 a day. But the minimum wage, the amount of money you need to have saved or as income to move to Mexico is a specific number multiplied by the minimum wage. Every time the minimum wage goes up, the amount of money you need goes up too because it's X. It's multiply.
Yep.
And they're not changing that number. So, and they're not going to stop minimum wage going up for you, right? So like it gets harder. And that I see a lot of that around other countries too, where like some places might make it easier by creating something like a digital nomad visa, right?
But also that number goes up every year too.
I would say the requirements are going to be harder every year. And the what you need to do, how much money you need, all those things are going to get more difficult. A lot of people were using the golden visa in Portugal, and they got rid of that like 2 or 3 a number of years ago, right? Like, and not that it can't be done, right? Not that it can't be done, but if you wait, it's not going to get easier. It's going to get easier in some countries. Going to be like, I see people moving abroad, and I want them to come here, so I'm going to make it really easy. But it might be like Georgia, the country.
Mm-hmm.
You have a desire to live there, right? But like, maybe it'll be easy to get there in 5 years. Who knows? So it just, the requirements differ. They go up every year. It's the time to at least start planning it if you don't do anything else, thinking about it, deeply thinking about it, which you can do at Exodus Summit 2024. And you can find that information at exodussummit.com. October 11th through 14th. Tickets are not on sale yet, but they will be as soon as I figure it out. Okay.
Will the link for this be in the bio?
No.
Oh, okay.
I will, yes. It's not there now, but it will be there. Everyone watching now knows they're already on the wait list.
Oh, okay.
Y'all know me. Y'all know we're doing this 5 years. We've been doing this. We've gotten so many Black women abroad. It like boggles my mind.
I love this. It just got really dark by me, so I don't know where all of my sunlight went. It's fine.
Where are you?
Right now, I'm in New Jersey. Yeah, I leave in a week and a half, though. I've got all my paperwork mostly done. I've got my immigration lawyer on like a firm on standby. They know the long-term plan of like, hey, we're definitely getting this one with the possibility of adjusting. They said, Shayna, just let us know. I said, fantastic. I updated my passport early just because, who knows what's going to happen in the US. So everything's
early was early.
So I sent in my passport to be renewed in like June. They said that it takes about like 6 to 8 weeks to get it back. I got it back in 5.
I meant how much time did you have left over on the?
I had, it was going to expire in July of 2025, which would have been an issue because that's for the year long. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but that's done now. Yeah, the paperwork is done. The apartment, my roommate seems sane. I wish her nothing but the best. I wish her nothing but the best. Unwell thoughts and prayers. I have given her to the universe. I think that this current roommate is sane.
Okay.
Well, I think she's well. In the very least, 2 months. A lot can go awry in 2 months, but I'm giving 1 to 2 months. I'm gonna find an apartment.
And I'm not gonna say too much, but was the roommate well when you moved in?
I thought she was. Stop. You know what? I thought she was well when I moved in.
And then what happened, Shayna? What'd you do? What'd you do?
I did. For those of you who are interested in like moving abroad, whatever, finding a roommate, this is a thing that I did not realize was a red flag, and now it's a red flag for me. I said absolutely not. Now that I know this one thing, if you are looking for a roommate who is I've only looked for women roommates. If they have said, "Oh, I'm recently out of a breakup," red flag. Red flag. Not because that in my experience, not just of her, but of other people that were potential roommates, and I was getting ready to sign a contract, and then mayhem jumped in because they were recently out of a breakup. I'm like, in my experience of finding roommates, realized that a lot of women, especially those who date men, all of these were straight women, and they were all white women in Spain. The end doesn't actually mean the end. The end just means a chaotic new beginning. And I don't want to be there in the midst of a chaotic new beginning. I've seen too much.
Okay.
Seen too much.
Okay.
So
All
this
right.
one is that.
So freshly out of a breakup is a red flag for you.
For me, it's a hard no. It's a hard no. If you are happily single, great. If you are in a committed relationship, great. If you know what it is, great. If you don't know what it is, oh, I'm new. I'm trying to figure out what I want to discuss. If you're in a bunch of new for you right now, as it relates to a man, I'll figure it out for you. Freshly out of a breakup in this current landscape that I've seen, there's the body's out of the cookie jar, but the hand's still in.
Okay. Okay. Now, my red flag would be I don't have any female friends. I'm so sorry.
Oh!
No, thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we took the time to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I shall be turning my feet that away and bidding you adieu. Adieu.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't have any female friends. Yeah, that's anything that can potentially fit under the umbrella of a pick-me girl as a roommate. Which in my mind, I don't have any female friends also gives like, oh yeah, I'm just a cool girl. Oh yeah, like there's just something weird about like women nowadays. Or yeah, like all of my friends are guys. I'm just
I had one roommate my freshman year. I lasted in the dorms one semester in that co-ed dorm, and then I was like, I shall not be giving you guys any money for the next semester. I won't be here. Fill it with somebody else, not me. I had my very first roommate. We switched rooms after a while because I was like, I can't live with her. Because I would show up and her and all her friends would be in the room. And sometimes her boyfriend and all her friends would be in the room. Fun. I'd never experienced this before. The friends could not speak directly to the other boyfriends.
So how did people say things?
Shayna, can you have Ralph pass me the salt?
No. No. No.
They could
Ew.
not speak.
No.
That was like a group rule. The girls could not speak to each other's boyfriends.
Ew. Ew.
And then the guys were committing bank fraud, and the girls were doing it for them. And they tried to get me into it. I was the only Black person in the room. I'm gonna go to the library. Okay, bye. And by the library, I mean I'm going anywhere that's not here with you guys. I'm not going to be committing bank fraud. Even though you say it's really easy and I'll never get caught.
Crime.
You
Have you
don't
ever
know
considered crime?
enough to speak to each other's boyfriends, and I'm supposed to trust you with federal crimes.
They're so funny. Like objectively, they are very, very funny from a distance. When crime, wow, wow. Um, all I feel like I shouldn't say. I don't. Let's just say that my past roommate, I should not have known any of this.
Mm.
Was our apartment potentially ground zero for a chlamydia outbreak in Barcelona?
Now, when someone comes kicking down the door, what, you in the crossfire of the
I
comediat?
I had nothing to do with this. Obviously. The the amount of and then I was given information. I didn't ask for this info. Oh, but Shayna, do you think I should tell them? Do do you, my name is Shay.
You know, we don't sex shame here.
We
Get it?
don't.
But also, like, cover it up a little bit, wrap it up,
Protection, honesty,
a little something,
communication,
a little bit
just
of something, a little bit of something. Because if you in the streets and you want to be in the streets, you ain't got to lie to nobody. You
no.
want to be in the streets too.
Safe sex is, and like they know what safe sex is. They making choices. Bad, consistent choices. And it's not just her, it's them too. It was all
Everybody,
of them.
everybody. We're all in the streets.
Everybody's in the streets making consistent bad choices. And I'm here, little chocolate drop of sunshine, being like, oh, once again, decorum room without decorum.
Don't drag me into it. Right? I listen. I'm very much like, if you would like to be out here having sex with 17 people, find someone else who wants to be out here having sex with 17 people, and then like protect yourself.
Protect yourselves and maybe
Protect
don't
each other.
include your roommate that's here for 3 months in the
Protect each
midst of your
other.
drama.
But if you have a hard time communicating what's going on, some of y'all been lying to each other about something. Because otherwise, it's y'all know I was out here. I know you were out here. Who knows where it came from? But we got it. What we gonna do, right? Like, that should not be. If we're all being super honest about where we are, what we're doing, and the lives we're living, it shouldn't be a hard conversation.
Should not be a hard conversation. 1, shows a level of maturity. 2, 3, when things are like getting a little funky, don't go, hey, well, I talked to Shayna about this, and you know
Oh
what,
no.
Shayna?
Oh wait.
Oh, and Shayna, here's man number. Shayna, say hi. Shayna, he doesn't know about the other ones. Please don't bring that up. Shayna, say hi. Hello, I'm just trying to get oatmeal. And
I
then
don't
when
know.
they all start coming in with questions, like, oh well, has anybody seen Shayna? Maybe she could answer.
We're gonna go back to like roommates are funny. Make sure you like yours and yours isn't going through a hard time. We all go through hard times. And I also think that like having a roommate when you're going through hard times is pretty awesome. As long as you don't drag your hard time down. Okay, so I have a bunch of autoimmune issues. And so I'm sensitive to this. And I discovered my autoimmune issues. I was living in a shared house with 2 other people. One person owned the house, her parents owned the house. College neighborhood, her parents bought a house. She lived in it, whatever. And then I rented a room and someone else rented a room. So I'm sure we were paying the whole mortgage if there was one. And during finals, she had lupus and she had some kind of like flare. And like she was asking me to do stuff for her, but her mom was in the house. So like I'm not sensitive to the fact that if I have finals, you have finals too because you're in college as well. But like your mom might be tired because of whatever she's had to do. But I'm not the backup nurse.
Yeah.
And I have finals, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but if one of us isn't passing our finals or like doing well in school because of your lupus, it's not me. It's not, I'm so sorry. It's not me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I'm like, I am sensitive to the fact, but we both have autoimmune issues that are flared by different things, right? And so like your needs, I get it. I want to love and not love. I want to like and support you. But your mom are right there. Why are you asking me to go in the kitchen and do stuff?
Was she
None of my roommates my freshman year were white or black.
Oh, okay.
They were everyone was a different thing that was not white or black.
Okay. Okay. But
I had 3 my freshman year. First one, then I switched roommates in the dorm, and then I lived out of a dorm. I think in the house I rented, one of the women was white, but I don't think she was there for long. I don't remember her as much as I remember the owner of the home. I don't remember her at all, but I know there was another person.
I feel like the moral of this is that chaotic roommates come in all shades, cultures, backgrounds. Messy knows no boundaries. Anyone can ruin a time.
We got mama in the house because you're sick. She don't pay no rent here, but she's staying here. She owns a house, so whatever. But like, she was not one of the roommates when I moved in. Why am I being asked to do labor for you?
And there were other roommates there.
There were other roommates there.
That's
You hear it?
I hear it now.
To be here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry about your lupus, but girl,
Mm-hmm.
where your mama at?
I'm not mammy. You have mommy, not mammy.
Anyway, I don't know how we got here. We started with Russia. We went to bathrooms. We've
been a little bit everywhere.
Okay, Shayna. Tell everybody everything about how to find you, what you do, all the good stuff.
Right. So, Shayna Conde. I have a website, Shayna Conde, first name right there, SHAYNA, last name CONDE.com. I'd prefer for you to find me on YouTube, at Shayna Conde. Oh, it's going to be down below?
It's already there.
Yeah, follow me on YouTube, please. I do have an Instagram linked right over here, Shayna RC. I post on there sometimes, mostly just like travel pics, things like that. I used to be on TikTok, but TikTok hates me, so I'm not there anymore. When it comes to all of my articles, I do talk about some of them on YouTube, but I will be updating that in a couple of days, but I will be, all of my articles, if you're curious about like where I've been to, places I recommend, intersectional like travel politics, food destinations that highlight Black and Indigenous people around the world. That was actually, I was nominated for an award featuring Indigenous women in Mezcal, written for Wine Enthusiast recently. I did not win the award, but another Black lady did. And what did Issa Rae say? Rooting for everybody Black. So win is a win. Power. So if you want to read any of my stuff, it's going to be on my website. Look under portfolio. Follow me on YouTube. And I'm actually working on, a bunch of my followers have been requesting that I build a masterclass for people that are interested in not just writing, but getting paid to write. How to find your niche, how to get started, where are the editors, how to find the right ones for you, how to pitch, how to send it, how to, like, should I pitch via email? Is it DM? How does it work? I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And I will keep everybody updated on that on my, definitely on YouTube, potentially on Instagram. Follow me on YouTube for all of the real-time updates. I also post a lot about all of the places that I travel to on my community page. If you could ask me questions about literally whatever, I do my best to respond to as many people as possible. It's been a busy 2 weeks. It's been a busy 2 weeks, so I'm a little behind, but that's where you can find me.
All right. Thank you for sharing that with me. Thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you for being such an amazing audience. Thank you for sharing about your time in Russia, even though I know it brought up some things.
Ooh, one thing about the both of us, actually, for those of you who did not know, I wrote an article for Essence that featured Rashida, and it's posted on Essence. It's about Black women navigating racism abroad. And Attorney Crump, I think that's his name. Where is it? I'm gonna find it. It's Attorney Crump.
Benjamin.
There he is. Yeah, it was just, he posted it. It's been making its rounds. We talk a lot about the intersections of Black women navigating racism abroad and what that looks like from a bunch of different angles with other travel content creators, people that have lived long-term in other countries. So if you're curious about that, I could send, do you have the link?
I'm just going to drop it in the chat right now.
Great.
Okay, y'all, I didn't know this was published until I was talking to her before this video. We started talking earlier in the video, and I was like, "Oh, is that out already?" She was like, "Yes, girl."
If it was not so crazy, I would have sent the email. I was in New Orleans.
No, that's not on you. That's on me, and because you told me when it was going to be published. I know I saw it somewhere in an email chain.
Yeah,
like I haven't been on the internet in a week. All right, so I'm dropping the article in the chat. What helps you the most on articles? Do you want people to read it? Do you want them to comment on it? Do you want them just to click on it?
Interesting. What helps me directly the most is when people read my articles, find me on whatever platforms you want to find me on, and then ask me questions. Engage with my stuff. Like,
okay, I guess my question was, is engagement on the Essence site important at all to you?
To me as an individual, no.
Okay.
I already got paid.
I meant like when they see, like, if they see like 20 million people read this article, are they going to be like, we need to hire Shayna more? Or, or is that not a thought that happens?
I need to ask my editor about that. I know that there's some publications that work like that, like Forbes. I don't know. I really love my editor at Essence. She's down for me to write about a lot of things. There's going to be a couple more articles that I've written coming out, like kind of in rapid fire. I think one came out yesterday or something like that. But honestly, it couldn't hurt. It couldn't hurt. And I can tap her to be like, hey, have you seen an uptick in this specific article? And if she says, yeah, I'd be like, do you want more stuff like that? I don't know. I haven't asked, but if you guys want to read it, I can report back and let you know.
Everything we sipped on at this year's Tales of a Cocktail, published August 3rd.
Yeah. Okay, so that did come out. Yeah.
Saying your name, and there it was.
Hey. So yeah.
Okay.
We'll find out.
We have like 2 more minutes here. So I have 2 questions. One, overall, we talked about Nigerian women who spoke Russian. I don't think we were actually, were they Afro-Russian, the group you saw?
I think they're Afro-Russian. There was a large group of, like, historically, a large group of people from, I think, Nigeria when the Iron Curtain fell that went to Moscow because the schools were open and they were really looking for like the best and brightest out of Africa. And so there was a large group of people migrating from Africa to Moscow, to Russia, to Kiev, to St. Petersburg for their education, and they just stayed. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were Afro-Russian.
Okay. Did you have overall? This is the last question. We're gonna get out of here because we're running late. I got to go eat, girl. And I see Kat's question about astrocartography, which she can find out about on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, so I do a lot of astrocartography. If you have any questions about that, let me know. I do readings for people every now and then. If you're curious, just like hit me up and then I could send you stuff.
Okay. Overall, your experiences with Afro-Russians, positive or negative?
I generally net neutral.
Okay. Net neutral. That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, generally net neutral. I will say the first person to ever like chase me and like try to grab me was an Afro-Russian man. He chased me down the street through traffic and he kept screaming the phrase mulatto here, mulatto here. It was very, very scary. And that was because he was the first that clicked something in my brain that said, I'm not safe around. I don't have people here. Because I thought, oh, a brother and a sister, we're good. But I know it's the beginning of a lot more.
I wish we had time for it all.
I know.
Do you have an idea of what he was planning on doing if he caught you?
Oh, I have no idea. I didn't want to find out.
Oh,
I just knew he was
I
fast.
wouldn't either.
Faster.
All right. You got out of Russia safely. You would never go back. I think that sums up Russia for us, y'all.
I think that sums up Russia for all of us. I think that's about it.
All right. On that note, mulatto here. Okay. So we're gonna get out of here. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, Jenna, for being here. I know a lot of this was a lot, and so I appreciate you guys sticking around and experiencing this with us. All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.